The second verse is about looking at integers with different signs and how they combine and how we simplify two integers with different signs. So the first part of the second verse says, two different integers with different signs. Let the absolute tell you, which is bigger by how much this time, keep the sign of larger value. So basically, we're just going to take the two integers, let's say -10 and -2. All right, so two integers with different signs. They have different signs. One of them is negative, one of them is a positive. We're going to take the absolute value of those two. So the absolute value of absolute value of -10 is 10. Absolute value of 2 is 2. So we figured out which is bigger, and we're going to keep the sign of the one that's bigger. So the absolute value of -10 is bigger than the absolute value of 2, so we're going to keep that negative sign. So now we know that's going to be negative along the number line. The simplified expression will be negative along our number line because that one had that absolute value was bigger and it had a negative sign. So here's how we're going to demonstrate that. So two different integers with different signs. This one will be our negative over here, since it's our negative sign on the number line, and this one will be our positive. So different integers with different signs, and let the absolute tell you. So we're putting our absolute value bars on our integers, which is bigger by how much this time, okay? And then we keep the sign of the larger value. In this case, we're keeping the sign of that negative. So we keep that negative, we know it's going to be along the negative number line. So two different integers, let the absolute tell you, keep the sign of the larger value. Great. Next, it says, express 7 and -9. So now we have an example. So express 7 and -9. 9 is greater in the absolute, because the absolute value of 7 is 7, absolute value of -9 is 9, and 9 is greater than 7. So 9 is greater in the absolute. All we need to do is simplify, and we'll find -2. So once we know it's going to be negative, we just find the difference between those two integers that we had. So the difference between 9 and 7 is 2, and we already know it's going to be a -2 because the negative was larger in the absolute. So here's how we're going to do this. So express 7 and -9. Again, we're going to put the negative one over here because our number line is splitting down here, so our negative part is over here. So express 7 and -9. 9 is greater in the absolute. And all we need to do is simplify, and we'll find a -2. So here's our 0 on our number line, and we have -1, -2, so -2. Let's try that again. So express 7 and -9. 9 is greater in the absolute. All we need to do is simplify, and we'll find a -2. Let's try the whole verse together, slowly. Two different integers with different signs. Let the absolute tell you, which is bigger by how much this time, keep the sign of the larger value. Express 7 and -9. 9 is greater in the absolute. All we need to do is simplify, and we find a -2. Great, let's try it with the music. Keep the sign of larger value. Express 7 and... Oops, let me cue it up. Two different integers with different signs. One more time. So I can make a negative direct division. There's a part before it starts on the number line. There's this little empty section where you can come in and you can do whatever you like. I'm just going to sit here and bob my head until the part starts. Two different integers with different signs, but let the absolute tell you, which is bigger by how much this time. Keep the sign of larger value. Express 7 and -9. 9 is greater in the absolute. All we need to do is simplify, and we'll find a -2. Oh, what's the operations? I can make it negative. All right, we'll try that one more time. And tighten it up a little bit. I was a little bit off. Let's see if I can do a little bit better here. Make a negative direct division, we multiply on the number line. two different integers with different signs, but let the absolute tell you which is bigger by how much this time. Keep the sign of larger value. Express 7 and negative 9. 9 is greater in the absolute. All we need to do is simplify, and we'll find a negative 2. Oh, what's the operation? Good, so that is the second verse.